Tupelo Smiles is a top-notch group. They're very compassionate about what they do. They've given me the smile that I've always wanted. I've been a patient for 15 years and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I just love Tupelo Smiles.
Harvey's Curbside to Go means you can experience quality anywhere. Call in and pick it up on your way home without leaving your car. No cooking, no cleaning, just dinner. Harvey's, a difference you can taste.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Well, good Thursday evening and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm meteorologist Gabe Boehner, and have you enjoyed the dry air? Well, all of that does start to shift heading into that extended forecast. That's one of the many things we're tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Again, it's just a lot to discuss, so stay with me. I promise we'll go through every bit of it. Let's go ahead and break down those headlines. First one being that latest drought monitor came out today. Looks slightly different, but still from last week's rainfall, right before it got really dry, kind of assisting in keeping those conditions pretty much the same. Clouds are back in the forecast, and while this is a very laughable headline, that's how dry things have been and how clear things have been, that we're talking about a little bit of moisture return before Saturday's severe weather threat pushes in place. And speaking of, that leads us to our next headline. Saturday's severe weather threat happening. Just what time, what impacts? We'll have the latest on that coming up on Mississippi Live Weather this evening. Let's focus on the here and now. I do not want us to miss out on what is a great forecast. As you can see, a little bit of that cloud cover returning during those overnight hours, so enjoy that sunshine while it's here. That becoming increasingly more in coverage towards our Friday morning, and that coverage of cloud cover will also limit how much we cool off. 82 around 6 p.m., only getting to the low 60s for the start of our Friday. Noticeable difference from what we've had here recently. I want to say that some of us could get away with no long sleeves for the morning commute, so it kind of just depends on who you are. I know my wife will still have the sweatshirt in full force tomorrow morning. 88 degrees West Point, 57 degree dew point though, and that sun shining beautifully there on the horizon. Again, enjoy it while it's here because cloud cover does increase just a bit on our Friday before that more rainy forecast this weekend. Smithville, 84 degrees as well, and I love all these sky cams. Shout out North Mississippi Storm Chasers for providing them because it does showcase that beautiful sunshine right there, pointed right in the direction of that sun as it's starting to set out west. So 10 miles an hour out of the northeast right there, so it is going to be still a little bit breezy in some parts of our viewing area, but that of course dying back just a bit and those starting to transition more to an easterly flow during those overnight hours. 7 miles an hour there in Clarksdale, 88 degrees and still dew point around 53, and even the wasps are out in full force enjoying what has been a beautiful forecast. I mean, this is just picture perfect, literally. Take a picture. This is incredible. But as we get into that extended forecast, you can kind of see that things are going to remain dry, but cloud cover and moisture restoring in our area. Drought monitor as of right now, you can see how this is expanded just a bit with that level 2 drought all across parts of Hollandale and Greenville. That level 3 drought encompassing a large portion of Calhoun County now, but a little bit of that rainfall that went on there towards Memphis and Hernando has dialed back just a bit from that drought that we had previously. And I want to give a big shout out to Attala County because whatever you guys are doing to stay out of the drought monitor week after week, it's incredible. I keep thinking that it's going to cover you guys, but somehow, some way, that little sliver is surviving. I'm curious what towns are right there. I got to get updated on my Attala County area. So that's Providence, Patterson, Center area. So folks out there, consider yourself lucky because just a few counties over, level 4 drought still in place and starting to expand just that much more. So folks over there in Lowndes County, Noxubee County, and Pickens County, unfortunately, a very dry situation right now, and this forecast not doing anyone any favors. Mississippi Live Weather Radar does have those dry conditions across North Mississippi, and as we look at rainfall totals over the past 24 hours, you kind of get the idea. It's not exactly going to be a saturated forecast, nor has it been a saturated forecast. Expanding things out just a bit, you can kind of see that we did get a little bit of those showers out there towards Colorado, New Mexico, and Kansas. That is our front as it inches closer and closer to us here in North Mississippi. But the real spectacle right here is going to be just how dry things have been across the entire southeast. I mean, this is, again, a look over the past 7 days, and you have this entire area here in the, I would say, central southeast, where it has been almost completely dry. That whole circle right there. A few drops of rainfall, I'll say that, but not like what we're getting out west, not like what we got out east. No, at most we got an isolated shower here and there, and that's really the extent of that coverage. So I don't know exactly the square mileage of this, but I know that from West Virginia all the way to southern Texas, it's over 1,000 miles. So Yeah, dry. That's been the theme, right? Let's get into our surface analysis right here, where high pressure continues to be the story. That continuing to cycle in a lot of that northerly air, which is that continental air mass. That high taking a little bit longer to clear out than what was originally anticipated yesterday, but assuredly this will start to get a little bit more off there towards the northeast and taking all that dry air with it. Here's our front that we are watching heading over the next couple of days with dry and cool air. I almost want to put cold. There we go. We made it work. Cold. I'm going to say cold. We're in the 40s as of when that front passes. So yeah, I would say we're under those cold parameters. That's starting to move closer and closer to North Mississippi. But before we get there, we do have this severe weather threat ahead of that system. So we are watching that in that extended forecast. And of course, keeping you guys updated. But that'll be Saturday's severe weather threat getting into our extended forecast. So as we can see, Futurecast, that high sliding a little bit more towards the east and those winds becoming more of an easterly flow. And then we'll start to transition more into southerly flow, and that's going to build that moisture back. We're seeing it towards Houston and Dallas right now, but as we get further in that forecast, those southerly winds starting to impact folks a little bit more east of where that Dallas area is. So Monroe, Louisiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, and then on into the Mississippi River during our 1 o'clock hour on our Friday. Really pushing into North Mississippi by 3 a.m. on your Friday, and by the time we're heading out the door, we're about to see a sight that we have not seen in quite some time. So let's zoom back in here to the Twin States, and you can see that we will be getting mostly cloudy conditions during that morning commute Friday, 8 a.m. So yeah, something you've not seen in quite some time. No, the world is not being taken over. It's just a little bit of clouds up there. So the next 24 shows us partly to mostly cloudy conditions lingering all day long, but luckily keeping our temperatures from being too chilly for the start of the day. 60 degrees for the start, climbing to the mid 80s by the afternoon. A little bit of a break in those clouds during our football forecast. And of course, that's one of our other headlines. It will be those football forecasts for our Friday and our Saturday. If you're heading to either of which, you need another forecast, and we'll have exactly that here in the Room to Room Weather Center. So that's one thing we'll be tracking. Also, the severe weather threat for our Saturday and your school day forecast as we wrap up this amazing week here in North Mississippi. All on Mississippi Live Weather at 5 coming up in the next 60.
This roof's getting installed with our premium roofing system. Backed by our 50-year warranty. And there's a 0% financing, no payment for 6 months options that this customer utilized. If you're looking for a new roof and you need an affordable option, call Absolute Restoration.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, it's another beautiful forecast across North Mississippi, no matter where you look. 91 degrees in Greenwood, though, definitely an outlier in what should be a fall-like forecast. In fact, we're still seeing 90s in mid-October. Yeah, kind of an anomaly, but not too far from there, down in Noxubee County, 88 degrees. So 91 all the way down to 88. So kind of shows you that it's going to be a warm forecast. Dew point still at 54 degrees, and that's helped keep these skies blue. And our forecast very, very, very dry. But not just there, we're also seeing that towards Lowndes County and Caledonia, that level 4 drought that's in place for folks up there. 88 degrees, and even the WASP are saying, where is our water? Yeah, it's that dry of a pattern. So honestly, Saturday's front, a blessing, but at the same time, something we need to prepare for as that severe weather threat is in place. Mississippi Live Weather Radar, dry as can be, not just over the past hour, but as we talked about a moment ago, over the last 7 days. Satellite imagery does show those clear skies as well, but if we expand things out just slightly, you can see that cloud cover building back there towards Paris, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I believe that's over there towards Fayetteville, Arkansas as well. Now, this is just some partly cloudy conditions, but what those clouds mean is that the forecast, oh, I started speaking British there for a second. The forecast not nearly as dry as what it is right now. So that's what we're going to be expecting over the next couple of days. And so that's what we can kind of expect leading into Saturday's severe weather threat. 5:30 on your Thursday. Staying dry, staying clear. So any of those evening plans looking good to go. But if we keep that forecast going into the evening, we can see those sunny skies transition into mostly clear skies. Only mostly clear, because that cloud cover building back along the state line before really building into our forecast overnight and for the start of our Friday. So waking up, we might see a different sight than we have been seeing. Not going to be those beautiful blue skies with those sunrises in the distance. No. It's going to be a mostly cloudy forecast, blocking our view of that sunrise in a lot of locations, and unfortunately not exactly a picturesque sky like what we have been seeing. Low temperatures 61 in Amory, 60 in Tupelo, 62 towards Senatobia, and you do notice that difference. I mean, all the difference clear skies can make. Hamilton 54 and Vernon 58. That's where it'll be slightly clearer than folks out here in North Mississippi, and that's a 5-degree temperature swing. So clouds, they do make the difference. So your school day, some of us might not need the long sleeves heading out the door, but I would still bring them just in case. But by the afternoon, definitely will not need it. 78 by lunch and 85 by that final bell. Still cloud cover lingering throughout the day. A little bit of a break as we get into our football forecast, but we'll get to that here in just a moment. Friday morning, staying on the dry and I'm used to saying clear, but I'll say dry and cloudy side for the extent of the start of our Friday. As we push more into mid-morning, you see a lot of this green showing up out there towards southeast Arkansas and western Mississippi. What this is something that I believe to be a little bit more elevated than what Futurecast is really forecasting for. And what that means is it's a term called Virgo, which means not reaching all the way to the surface, still rainfall, but with the dry air at the surface kind of dissolving that little batch of moisture that's falling there from the sky. So noontime still dealing with that those elevated showers, and that'll continue to be the case into our afternoon. Maybe getting a few drops out there towards northwest Mississippi by the time we get towards our 3 o'clock hour, but even that, not going to be impactful rainfall and definitely not a drought buster. So Friday afternoon, staying on the mostly dry side again, a few drops possible, but overall we will have a lot of that moisture just be in the form of cloud cover. Nothing more. So 6 p.m. still seeing mostly clear conditions across the region. I did say a little bit of a break would happen, but as that break happens, that allows some of that daytime heating to get there in place. And folks in Greenwood, if you thought 91 was toasty, we're talking about 92 in the forecast for our Friday. 91 Belzona and 90 in Greenville. You do see the record is 90 degrees set back in 1938. A realistic possibility we break some of those records as we get into our Friday forecast. A few records already broken today. We'll get into that later on in Mississippi Live Weather, but definitely not the record that I want to be breaking. I want it to be chilly, and I know a lot of folks just kind of waiting on fall. Yeah, unfortunately, just going to take a little bit longer. So your pregame high school game of the week forecast looking ideal. 85 degrees at 3 p.m., 82 by pregame. Still with mostly sunny conditions, and halftime and final snap keeping with those mostly clear skies, but temperatures not as cool as they have been. So only going to be in the upper 60s. Bring the long sleeves still just in case, but I don't think a lot of us will need it like we have the past few weeks. As we get into the rest of our Friday evening, you can see that it's going to remain that dry and calm forecast, so don't worry about any rain gear. It's primarily just going to be the warm gear overnight. Now look at the winds. You've already seen those shift into our Friday evening and into our Saturday morning coming directly from the south. That's destabilizing our atmosphere, and that's what's going to allow for some of those showers and storms to occur. So here's a look at our Saturday mid-morning, and again, still staying on the drier side, but then by lunchtime, we get this stretch of some scattered showers that start to develop. What this is doing is honestly a good thing. It's eating up some of that energy in the atmosphere, but being that it is still 12 p.m. and not 3 p.m., that energy can build back or rebuild itself, and so we're not completely out of the woods just yet for some of those stronger storms to occur. But as these showers continue to develop, it's eating at that energy that we do have, and as long as those stay below severe weather threshold, then I think that that'll definitely help our environment. But this is primarily staying on the east side of our viewing area. If we jump out west, a drop hasn't happened. We're still getting some of those clear breaks in the sky. So by 6 p.m. on our Saturday, you can see how this line is already starting to transition in. And of course, that line of storms really building into the area, some of those deeper cores, maybe producing some large hailstones. But what we really expect is along this leading edge to be those stronger wind gusts and maybe the potential for a brief tornado. That's not our highest threat. Our main threat is primarily going to be those winds, but that's what we're watching into our Saturday evening. But as it moves further east, honestly, the extent of that energy not exactly going to be impressive, and so we really expect that threat to primarily be out there in the Delta for folks in Shelby, Cleveland, Clarksdale, and around the Senatobia region. So that fully clears our area for the severe weather part of it by 2-3 a.m. on your Sunday, but then we get more rainfall on the back end of this, and that's going to be ideal to give us some of that much needed moisture. High temperature Saturday, it's still going to be toasty. 91 degrees Greenwood, 90 Belzona, and 88 around Clarksdale, 86 Oxford, and 87 there towards Starkville. So speaking of Oxford and Starkville, we do have our football forecast in place, and as you can see, Ole Miss taking on Georgia, 79 degrees there in Athens for kickoff, 80 by halftime, and then cooling off into the mid-70s towards that final snap. Cloud cover building over time because they are ahead of the front, so they'll be getting kind of that leading cloud cover like what we'll be getting tomorrow. Theirs is around Sunday. So it kind of shows that forward progression over the next few days. Tennessee heading to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Kickoff, it's going to be a night game in Bryant-Denny. It's going to be a tough one. 80 degrees first place, 79 by halftime, and 76 towards that final snap. I did say that the chance of rain could start to increase by the end of the game, but models so far forecasting about 10% chances, upping to 20% towards that final snap. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if that was upped even that much more if that front moved just a little bit quicker. So remains to be seen, but we're starting to get a little bit of those short-range models that are helping us get a better time frame on this system. Mississippi State traveling to Gainesville to take on the Florida Gators. Mid-afternoon kickoff, and it's going to be a beautiful forecast at that. So hopefully our Mississippi State fans are traveling to enjoy a great forecast and enjoy hopefully a great game. I'm kind of nervous about this one, but we definitely need a dub, and I think Florida might be the one that we need. But before we get those dubs, I guess after we get the dubs, we can we'll look forward to the severe weather risk on our Saturday evening. Level 2 threat for Senatobia, South Haven, Clarksdale, and Cleveland, as well as for folks down in Greenville. Belzona, Greenwood, Oxford, and for folks out east all the way to Lowndes and Noxubee County, we're dealing with a level 1 threat. Now, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, how I didn't fully believe that the slight risk needed to be extended all the way to Tupelo, and SPC agreed. SPC pulled it back and pulled that level 2 threat out there towards Highway 61, and then really for folks out there in Arkansas. So we'll be discussing that in more detail, but it's definitely starting to follow the trends that we expected it to, and that's why we didn't want to scare you guys yesterday saying, hey, level 2 threat, prepare for despair, all that jazz. No, that's what a lot of social media people like to do. We're not doing that here. We're going to keep things straightforward, and straightforward, honestly, it needs a lot of parameters to be in place if we are going to get those severe conditions here, and we'll look more in detail tonight at 6 on exactly what that is. Also with that flash flood threat, that marginal threat is in place for folks to see some of those flash flooding conditions, especially in those flood-prone regions. So we're going to walk through that as well coming up tonight at 6, a full breakdown of that severe weather threat in its entirety. So you need to tune in tonight at 6 for the very latest on that forecast. But beyond that front, it is going to be a perfect forecast that fully clears Sunday morning and leaves us with cooler conditions by our Sunday afternoon. 73 degrees is where we top out, but those lows, oh my word, 64 dropping to, yes, you see that correctly, 46. 46, guys. It's going to be cool. Honestly, I'm putting the long sleeves on Monday, and I'm going to keep them on all day long. But granted, I do that every day because we wear suits here. But either way, if I was not working, I definitely would. And then Tuesday, another front kicks in, so that's why low temperatures are just that much higher. That moisture in the air keeps those temperatures a little bit closer together. But once that fully clears, we'll be cooling off once again into the upper 40s. So if you have long been awaiting on a fall, it's good news. Unfortunate part is we have a few speed bumps before we get there, and that's one of the things we'll be tracking tonight at 6 once again. So make sure to be there so we can kind of talk through that threat together. If you guys do have any questions, please go ahead and put it in chat. Would love to answer those in more detail, and if you think of questions during the 6 o'clock broadcast, go ahead and let us know, and we'll talk through that in more detail. As we approach this event, we want to answer any questions you guys have to keep you guys safe and informed. And yeah, we definitely don't want you guys to be scared in this event. We want you guys to be prepared. Prepared, not scared. There's my phrase for the day. So yeah, one of the best ways to do that is with the Mississippi Live Weather app, that first layer of protection, should I say, as we get into the next couple of days. We'll do so at the 6 o'clock hour with Mississippi Live Weather at 6, and our next broadcast tonight at 10, and our morning shows readily available with meteorologist Maggie McCauley at 6:30, 7, and 7:30. Again, we keep you guys prepared morning and night, and we'll do so again here in just a couple of minutes.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.